Today's presentation is resume writing, and your host is Roger Anderson.
Hello. We're going to talk about not just resume writing, but what goes into a resume. So we're going to begin with a discussion of who you are, which is an important, probably the most important part about a resume. I would recommend that you Google yourself, and you may find nothing on there about yourself on Google, but if you do, it can be helpful, interesting, and perhaps need correction. Also, check your social media. Review your posts, both your very old posts as well as your recent, and be sure that if you find something that would lead somebody to who doesn't know you to make the wrong assumption about you, that you get rid of it. It is commonplace these days for employers to check social media to see what you've posted and get a feel for what kind of person you might be. So if there are things on there that would lead people in the wrong direction as far as who you are, it's a good idea to make corrections before you even start a job search. You don't want people asking questions like, why would somebody do that? Or why did they do that? Obviously, people who are hiring someone to be part of their organization are very concerned about getting the wrong person hired and finding things out about them afterwards. So fix it if it's broken. Employers also want to know something else about you, and that is what you're good at doing. What are your skills? What have you learned along the way? And how do you support what you say about those skills? What are your experiences? Are you comfortable with identifying your skills would be a basic question to all of this. What's your superpower? You know, what do you really feel good about? Those things can be a challenge to answer. So because of the fact that we get personally involved in who we are, and sometimes it's hard to separate out what we're good at doing, it's a good idea if you think about this first. Test to find out what you're good at. Testing for skills is a commonplace situation. Many employers do it before they hire people. Some of them do it afterwards to try to find out what those skills are. And the good news is that you can take these tests, and many of them are free. I would stick with the free ones, especially to begin with. So again, I would rely on Google to search for job skill tests and personality tests. And again, please be sure that you're signing up or obtaining a free test. These tests will help you with giving you verbal descriptions of skills, as well as verbal descriptions of personality types. All these things are helpful in terms of your discussing yourself and your characteristics and how you would be helpful to the organization and be a good fit. Some of the common personality tests are Jung, Myers-Briggs, and there are others used by organizations. Some of them use them as a screening device to be sure that who they're hiring is a good fit for the personality types that they've found that have been successful with their organizations. But you can get a leg up on this by doing this in advance and finding out what your personality type is, and also by going to their website, finding out what kinds of people they're looking for. Sometimes they're quite explicit in their information about the culture and the experience of the people who are currently working there. Organizations really do want employees that match their needs and can match their vision based on what their personality types are. So be aware of that, and as I said, be sure that you do some testing in advance of doing any actual job search. So let's talk about resumes at this point. What is a resume? It really is a tool to get you in for an interview so that you can get that much closer to obtaining a job. So what should a resume do? How should it work? Well, it should be a brief summary of accomplishments. The rule of thumb is usually a one-page resume. Now, the more experiences you have, or the more information you have about yourself, can lead you to more than a page. So don't be stingy with the paper if you find that that a page and a half is going to work much better than a page. When you're listing accomplishments on your resume, please remember that you should wrap it in a skill and use action verbs to describe it. You should limit your resume to the last 10 years of employment. The reason for that is because most employers do not see that that beyond 10 years of experience is going to be helpful to them in terms of having a well-practiced skill to bring on board. So please be aware that the last 10 years is the most important part to most employers. Remember, this is a resume, not a history of your life or your professional life. Objectives being listed at the top of a resume were popular for a while. That objective listing has gone away, as you can imagine. When you list an objective, you narrow the possibility of being viewed as a possible fit for a job. So if you're listing an objective that you would really like to have, the person who's looking at your resume may say, well, that doesn't fit with what we're doing, nor does it fit with what we think people should be targeting. So I would leave the objective off of your resume. Also, on your home address situation, I would, as far as listing that on your resume, I would leave your street address off. The only pertinent information should be your city and state, and you have to have contact information, so a working email address and a working phone number. When we're talking about email addresses, I would also recommend that you think about the fact that that you're trying to find a job. This is a focus of yours. I would set up a separate email address and use that on all of my resumes as well as my communications with any organization. The idea here is that that you can basically turn this email site on when you're doing your job search and focus on what comes into that email site as opposed to your everyday email site, which has personal communications, all kinds of stuff that you've may have signed up for and get updated on all the time. It's sometimes hard to sift through that and keep focused on your job search and responses to your job search. So that's my recommendation. Also, when you're done with your job search, you've landed a job, you can turn that off and you don't have to be bothered by things that come in, and you can check it occasionally, not frequently. When you're listing your experience, your various jobs are important, not the actual day. Also, list a job title, the company name, and the city and state that company is in. The employers want to be able to, or somebody who's doing a search for candidates wants to be able to look down and see things quickly in terms of how long you were at various places, not have to read through dates and so forth and calculate how many months that would be. So it gives them a quick thumbnail reference as to your tenure at various jobs. Education, list that at the bottom, and it should be, if you have a high school diploma or GED, that should be listed, as well as where you went to high school. Do not list the year. The year is not relevant. And if you have additional education, I would also list it here. So if you have, if you took courses at a community college, I would certainly list that. It helps organizations realize that you're interested in additional education, and that's that's a very positive thing for most organizations. Resume formatting. This is the whole situation with regard to spacing of the information, the headers, positioning of the information. There are free templates available on the internet. However, there are lots of offers for free formatting that are not free. In other words, you fill out, and I have done this recently, you fill out a resume, and it formats it very nicely for you. You get down, you're all done, and suddenly a page pops up and says, if you want your resume, it's going to cost you $10, and please have your credit card ready. Well, I would try every which way to avoid spending money on resume formatting. So one of the suggestions I would have is that best offices do help people with their resumes, and it doesn't cost you anything. So if you're looking for assistance, I would go to the best office, or if you're involved with a community college, they too can provide you with some assistance without charging you money for formatting your resume. I would save your resume in a Word document to begin with. A Word document will allow you to change the resume as things happen, or if you want to change it for other reasons. It's just an easy way to facilitate making changes. Then you can always save it in other formats based on what's being requested of you at job search sites, so PDFs and that sort of thing. Also, you may need to custom create resumes for the job you're applying for. Sometimes you want to highlight the matches that you have seen that coincide with what your experiences are versus what they're looking for with regard to experience. So if you run into that, it's a good idea to custom make your resume so that they see this match and they say, gee, we've got to talk to this person. So that's the idea behind customizing your resume. So you've got your resume ready. So now what are you going to do? Basically, you can start going into search engines for jobs. The most popular these days is Indeed, and a lot of companies list with Indeed, but there are lots of others that are coming along. Snag a Job. Anyway, there are lots of jobs that are listed. You can Google your location that you want to be in and the job title you want, and Google will come up with all of the jobs that they can find that are listed under these various search engines. I would also suggest that you, once you figure out which companies are looking for somebody, that you go to their website. Now, some of them will redirect you back to the search engine, but some of them have more information about the positions they're looking for, and it's more up to date. So if they filled a position, you're going to get that information a lot more readily on a organization website than on a search engine. You can look at LinkedIn, which is another website that allows you to put the name of the company in, and it lists people who are in LinkedIn and work for that organization. I would start out slowly with this in terms of you find a name in there and you want to find out something about the company. You can send them an email and ask them, tell them what you're doing, that you're interested in obtaining a position with the company, and ask them how they got a job at the company, that kind of thing. People like to talk about themselves, so it's a good idea to start building rapport with somebody by asking them about how they managed it. So that's one possibility of building a network to help you find a job. The other big network that we all have and don't think about frequently is the friends and relatives network. This is pebble in the pond kind of thing. So when you think about it, if you passed out a resume to all of your friends and family and asked them in turn to pass out a resume to all friends and family of theirs, you have quite a large ripple effect as this goes out. So that can be a very effective network in terms of finding a job. And just be sure that you make them aware as to what you're looking for, that this is your resume, that if they need any additional information, you can take care of that. And that you have an email address. Just be sure that they have that basic information. Now, I will forewarn you that this network contact has to be maintained. So everybody in your network is busy doing their various things. And sometimes they're very interested in the fact that you're looking for a job, but a month goes by and they've forgotten completely about that. So it's a good idea to kind of plan when you're going to follow up and remind them that you're still looking for a job if you are, and let them know that you still would like their help in finding that job. There are a surprisingly large number of jobs found by using this network approach of friends and family. So the resume let's just conclude by saying the resume gives you this license to hunt for a job. If you find that you're not getting responses from your resume, I would certainly take a look at your resume again. And it may require you to change your resume in order to start getting responses. Remember, you can always ask other people about how they view your resume. This might be a way to use LinkedIn as well. So ask your family and friends what they think about your resume, and if you need to make changes, then you can go ahead and do that. And remember, this is not something that sometimes is easily accomplished in terms of getting an interview. So don't give up. Continue to work on your contacts and to work on the internet and other sources for jobs. Good luck. Thank you.